So what's up everyone, welcome to our build breakdown video of our up in spoke Nissan 350Z. So I suppose we should talk about what the up in spoke tour is. So people, if you haven't seen on the internet already, we'll explain a little bit about what the up in spoke tour is.
Yeah, well, it's a European road trip for start off. We're visiting 5 tracks over 7 days, 2,000 miles. And basically the whole premise of it is that it's no pro cars. So no roll cages, no built engines, no fancy stuff. You know, a little bit of spice, but nothing too fancy. It was all about taking drifting back to the roots of kind of where it all started, which was on the street.
Monster Energy are behind it, and it was their idea to try and remind everybody of why they fell in love with drifting.
100%.
You know, we all fell in love with, you know, going and buying a car, going to track days with your friends, driving there, driving home. And this trip really kind of signifies what that is and us getting back towards it. You know, we've gone so far with pro drifting and that's amazing, but it's about getting back to the core of, like, you know, why we enjoy drifting. Do you know what I mean? And it's spending time with your friends, building cars, and then traveling around Europe.
So far where we are now, we're in the Netherlands at the moment, filming this piece of video. We started the tour off in Rockingham Motor Speedway, had a really good day. We was busy doing passenger rides with the PS13. We didn't use the 350Z, but we've had some fun in it today. We got it on and off the ferry safely, just about. Tomorrow's going to be an exciting day. We're going to a track local to here, and there's a local group of guys coming to do some drifting with us. So it's all about that, getting back to the roots, getting back to why we fell in love with drifting, as Steve just said. And yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow, and I'm excited for the rest of the tracks we're going to visit throughout the rest of the week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and we decided we wanted to build a street car for this, as we didn't have them. So we looked around for what we thought would be a good, you know, car that we can drive on the road and then on the track. So we came up with Nissan 350Z. We know Nissans pretty well. We've worked on a lot of them. I've never owned a 350Z. I don't think you've ever owned one before.
Never owned one.
And the first thing that I really noticed when we picked a 350Z was when I started looking online for all the bits we need to kind of get it to drift. You know, it was so easy. There's so many companies that are making bolt-on parts that, you know, you can literally just bolt on your car and then go drifting, and it's able to do it. So I guess shout out to GK Tech. I hit them up, and through their dealer in the UK, VIP Motorsport, they supplied us with a ton of parts. And the first thing I noticed when I looked at them was like the quality of the actual products, like the machining, like the actual material, like everything was really, really nice. And the videos that they make on YouTube that you can watch to fit the parts of the car are really interesting. They're quite fun to watch, and they're so explanatory. Yeah, they literally just tell you what you need to know, right?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, they tell you exactly what you need to know. And not only are the parts really well made out of really, really good materials, they are just so easy to fit in the workshop, or even if you're doing it at home. It took us no time really to fit all of these parts of the car.
The hardest part was getting the old parts off the car.
Exactly, all the rusty bolts and whatnot. Well, let's have a chat about what we actually fitted to it. We'll start at the front. So we fitted a lower arm on this car, the GK Tech lower arm, which is all adjustable, so you can adjust the track width on it. We also added onto the stock knuckle a drop knuckle adapter kit, which gives us more lock, the M14 tie rods and rack spacers. And also we fitted on this car the upper A arm to widen the track width a little bit more and just give us a bit more usability, especially with the rose joints as well. Nice bit of kit. They also supplied us the plenum spacer as well, to go along with all of the other products that we fitted to the engine, like the Cannon air filter and the retuned ECU from Mark Abbey Motorsport. Yeah,
so the retuned ECU from Mark Abbey Motorsport that you mentioned was, I guess, a key piece of the build, because obviously you had to map out left foot braking, so you can't left foot brake to try and obviously control the car or even do something fun like a burnout. I think he also added a few other little functions to it, you know, giving it full power in maybe first and second gear, because I heard that there's a bit of a restriction on first and second gear with power. And the plenum spacer, as you mentioned, from GK Tech, which obviously allows more air in and gives it a little bit more horsepower. So that was all really good. We bolted on some ST suspension. They sent us some XTA coilovers. They made them custom with up in spoke written on them in green as well, which is super cool. BBS, which is a new partner of the KW Automotive Group, supplied us some new wheels. So we've got some BBS wheels on it, and we are running Zestino tires on the front just to give us a little bit more steering grip. And obviously we just running whatever on the back just to make the car slide around and just whatever's cheap and cheerful and hasn't got a huge amount of grip, because the car hasn't got a huge amount of power. They are only around like 300-ish horsepower, I guess.
They're about 290-ish, I think, 280 standard. With the remapped ECU and the Cannon air filter kit and the plenum spacer, we gained, I think it's up to about 305, according to Mark Gillam at Abbey Motorsport. So, you know, it's a nice little bit of power. It's very, very torquey. And as you said about, you know, unlocking that bit of power and torque low down in first and second or third gears, this thing pulls really, really well now through the gears. Even on the motorway and you're cruising it along, it just pulls so hard. Yeah, it's really, really nice to drive.
Even with that, and with that Cannon induction kit, it sounds awesome as well.
Yeah, it does. It certainly does.
It really does. So moving on to the inside of the car, we kept it super basic, super easy, super clean. We went with just a Sparco bucket seat for just the driver's seat, and we left the passenger seat stock just for the road trip. Comfy, try to keep the passenger comfy. Got a Sparco steering wheel on there. And for the handbrake, we went with a GK Tech like adapter, I guess, that bolts onto the gear stick, surround bolts, and then that gives like a little bracket on the side of the tunnel, which allows you to bolt in a handbrake. Super easy. We just made the brake lines at work. We're using the Hell brake line machine. And on the back, we've got a dual caliper adapter, which allows us to bolt on a second set of Nissan 350Z calipers, and you know, gives us a decent e-brake.
Yeah, and we also added, while we was in there taking off all the rear wheel bearings and putting that adapter plate on, we put also in a drive shaft spacer. We've lowered the car quite a lot, as you can tell. We didn't want to overstretch the drive shaft, so we put in a GK Tech drive shaft spacer just to push the shaft back in to give you a little bit more play when we're drifting.
And there was 3 options on the, I think, on the spacer.
Yeah, different measurements, 8, 10 and 15 mil, I believe, on their website.
If that's wrong, we'll put it here.
We'll put it, we'll put it here somewhere. It's been a long couple of weeks and a long 2 days. We didn't really do too much else to the car. We put a brand new Jap Speed exhaust onto it, because the one that came with the car was way too loud.
Yeah, so when I bought the car, I thought it sounded okay until I heard James's and Shane's cars that we helped build, and they sounded insane. And we looked underneath and realised that basically we could get a Jap Speed exhaust under there and it would sound exactly the same as theirs. So yeah, shout out to Jap Speed for supplying us the exhaust system. This car sounds really good. Sounds really good now.
Yeah, and for engine stuff as well, just going back on the last couple of bits we did on the engine bay, we fitted that Hell oil cooler kit with their thermostatic adapter plate, a Forge Motorsport power steering cooler. They come with a power steering cooler factory, but we just upgraded it to another 2 rows, and the Forge one's perfect for that. Just gives a little bit more cooling on the power steering, especially now with the increased lock, more load onto the steering pump. And we also fitted a Jap Speed radiator with fans. So, you know, the whole thing, I did a massive burnout in this earlier in first gear, and it didn't even get hot. And I was quite surprised, because, you know, you're not moving anywhere, but you're cooking the tyres.
It's a stock car, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
And then I suppose the last big thing that we did right at the end, just before we left, was we fitted brand new EBC front and rear discs, and we put on yellow stuff front and rear pads. Obviously, we've got 4 calipers up the back, 1 for the foot brake and 1 for the handbrake. So yeah, we've got yellow stuff pads in both calipers, and the braking is obviously a lot better with, you know, for a start, just having brand new brakes. But when we spoke to EBC, they said obviously this is what we suggest you do, as it's a stock car. You're going to be using it on the road, you're going to be using it on the track. They did give us some other pad options to try. We haven't gone there yet with that, but we might try and find some time on the trip to try their different pad options that they've sent us, and we can talk about that maybe in a later video if we get around to it. But for the moment, the yellow stuff pads that we've got in have been decent. They've been really good. Yeah, the handbrake locks up at every pull, and the front brakes are really good. So yeah, no complaints there. I mean, I haven't driven it a huge amount yet, but like from what you were saying earlier, there doesn't seem a huge amount of like brake fade or any of that stuff.
No, nothing at all. And apart from that, that is pretty much it. I think all in all, for a car that we built in no time at all really, has come out
10 days or something?
So well. Yeah, I think it looks really good. Everyone says it's got really good road presence. Sounds, goes well.
I think a 350Z overall just looks really good when they're lowered.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we've obviously put the lips on it, the side skirts and the spoiler on the back, and pretty stock other than that, looking wise. But yeah, it looks decent on the road, especially with the wheels and everything else going on with it. That's basically our up in smoke Nissan 350Z. Big shout out to all the partners that jumped on to help us build it. Hopefully this week is going to be awesome, and we're going to have a great time, and look forward to, I guess, creating lots of content and showing all you guys. So yeah, stay tuned for that.